Hello, guys. Welcome back to Talk About It Tuesdays. I'm going to give myself a few minutes here to let a few people tune in. So, we missed last week. Such is life. Life is busy. And so, we are capping off another May. Um, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and so we launched Talk About It Tuesdays for Mental Health Awareness Month. And so this was to have difficult conversations and get people talking about things we don't typically talk about. It's an extension of Living a Stress Life podcast. We are gearing up for season 2. Season 2 will kick off next Friday. Podcast always drops about 7 a.m. And so Talk About It Tuesdays is just extending the conversation and having some difficult conversations about things that we're all dealing with on a day-to-day basis that stresses us out. And so I want to say thank you to all the people who have been tuning into the podcast and offering us consistent support. So far, we've talked about a couple of challenging issues, and I appreciate all the feedback. I want to say hello to Marcus Dunning, who's tuning in on Instagram Live. So if you're tuning in with us right now, we're doing Instagram and Facebook Live, and soon I will be launching a YouTube page, and you'll be able to go back and look at all the videos on YouTube. Hopefully I can make that happen, but we will have a YouTube page up and running. So I want to hop into today's topic. Talk About It Tuesdays is intended to be quick conversations. If you happen to miss the live and you're watching this video, please comment. Please engage in the dialogue. It's very important for other people to be able to connect with others who've experienced the same struggles and who are dealing with daily stressors. And so the topics that we're discussing is intended to really engage people in dialogue that they don't have every day. So let's get to it. Today's topic is about women and drinking, and how in today's society, there is this huge norm where wine is life to be a mom. And so I kind of wanted to talk about that. What sparked this is like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was scrolling through Facebook or Instagram. I can't remember which one, but there was a lady who posted this long post that said that she didn't need wine to function as a mom. And so I can't remember what the caption of the picture said. I tried to go back and find it. I thought I saved it. I didn't. But when so I don't remember what it said, but when I looked at it, it said something to that effect. And then she just went on in her post about how in today's society, everything has normalized drinking to basically get through the responsibilities of being a mom and a wife. And I don't know, for some reason that resonated with me. I think because there was a point where I would come home from the end of the day and look forward to a cold glass of wine. But I also grew up in the house with a parent. My father struggled with addiction. He struggled with both substance abuse, and he struggled with alcoholism. And I think a lifelong struggle led to an early death. He passed right before his 70th birthday. And so I am always conscious about the decisions I make and the things that I engage in to cope with stress. But I remember that being something I look forward to, is coming home, sitting down with a cold glass of wine, playing video games. I am a gamer. I don't get to play as much, but I really, really like playing video games. But at one point, playing video games and drinking wine was leading to me being even more tired the next day. And it was like something that I was doing to cope with the stress of working in a residential facility where I was dealing with anger and bipolar disorder and all these disruptive outbursts and violence. I was coming home, and my way of having an outlet was actually drinking a glass of wine and playing video games. Of course, I mean, I would have to cook dinner. I'm a wife and a mom, and I might have to help with homework, but I look forward to that glass of wine. And so reading this lady's post, it just resonated with me, and I started doing my homework. Like, I wonder how frequent this is. Like, I see so many other people that I know, that post funny memes about needing wine, but is there this subconscious thing that says we as moms, we as women, and as working parents have to have alcohol to be able to cope and escape from the stresses of our life? And so I came across this article. It's an old article that talked about the increase of alcoholism amongst women and how men actually the rates of alcoholism or wine or liquor consumption used to be higher with men, but now in 2019 it's actually higher with women. And from 2002 to 2013, problem drinking among women rose 83%. From 2005 to 2012, binge drinking among women increased from 17.5% compared to men. That number only rose 4.9%. And so I think that, we all are aware that alcohol or drinking has been commercialized. It's been, what's the word I'm looking for? It's been made to look very attractive, and so in every advertisement, everywhere you go, you see people drinking to kind of decompress and to relax. Well, is that leading to a problem? I think so. And I think when I think of about motherhood and how stressful it is to be a mom, me and my husband, we do this podcast together, but we get into these debates sometime about me feeling like he doesn't understand how stressful it is to be a working mom, and he feels like I don't understand how stressful it is to be a man in today's society. But one of the things that I feel like as a mom that we don't have the luxury of doing as a mom or a wife is I feel like we're never off the clock. I just, I think that for those of us who are natural nurturers in our relationship, when your man comes home, if you are kind of old school and traditional, which I feel like I am, it's important to me to have a clean house. It's important to me to cook my husband a meal, especially if he's the breadwinner at the house. He works really hard. He owns his own business, and he contributes a lot financially and carries the household a lot financially and has in different seasons. At one point, I was an at-home mom. And, for me, I bore a lot of guilt and shame for a long time. And I think I discussed it about not enjoying being a stay-at-home mom. Like, I just did not like being a stay-at-home mom. My kids were really close together. It was stressful. I think not having a whole lot of adult interaction with the kids at home, being at home with the kids, it just made me feel more stressed. And I was looking at some triggers or some challenges that really push moms to drink or engage in consuming alcohol. And I found a couple of things. One of the challenges is that when you're a mom, especially when you're an at-home mom, it's hard to engage in self-care. I manage about 4 or 5 jobs. I help my husband with his business. We're business owners. Even though he's fully self-employed, I do have a day job, but I do work very hard with helping him with a lot of back office things, administrative tasks with his business. I'm doing this podcast. I do outpatient therapy. I also do some consultation and some supervision of interns at my son's school. And then I'm a mom. Not to mention, we've been renovating at the house, trying to get ourselves prepared to transition into a bigger house. And so a lot of the time I have all these things on my plate. And because of because of how my husband works, a lot of time I'm also the one doing all the doctor's appointments, the dentist appointments, the hair appointments, running to sports events, remembering to schedule the teacher meetings. And as a mother, I feel like I have so much stuff on my mind that it's hard for me to find time to just decompress from everything and just focus on myself. So self-care can be a huge challenge for moms. Hormones, if you've had children, if you're coming off of having a baby, postpartum, really pregnancy and postpartum can be a difficult stage because your body is changing. It's also difficult too when you begin to go through menopause. I hear so many women talk about how much their body changes, how much they feel different inside themselves hormonally when they start to go through that change of life. Also, having a new baby changes your routine. It changes everything about the way you function as a woman, as a wife, as an employee. So you pretty much are at the mercy of your child's schedule. So if your child refuses to sleep at night, guess what? You don't get any sleep at night. And a lot of times we as women, especially if we're breastfeeding, we have to be the ones who are getting up at night. Yeah, it is convenient to breast pump so that someone else can get in. But at night when you're dog tired, sometimes the easiest thing for you to do is just roll over side to side and breastfeed. So, it's never even an option to tap the dad on the shoulder. I also came across this acronym for triggers called HALT: hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Those are like 4 of the main possible triggers for women to drink as moms. And it says that mothers should really, really work hard at avoiding letting yourself get too hungry, too angry, too lonely, or too tired. I can so agree with this. As a mom, as someone who's had little kids back to back and who's now raising teens and preteens who be making me want to literally pull my hair out, that allowing yourself to get too hungry, for me, too hungry or too tired is automatic triggers for me to just like go off and get into somebody. Like, it's bad when you like, if you do what I say, don't do one more time. When you start grinding your teeth, that's a trigger for drinking. Sometimes the need to just check out, like you just need to escape all the things that you need to do. And unfortunately, alcohol numbs you. It helps you get your mind off of things. It relaxes you. So a lot of people turn to drinking. Also, being a mom is delayed gratification. When I read that, I was like, you know what? That is so true. That patience is something that you have to have when you're a mom, because you don't always reap the reward of all your hard work. All of the constant, I said, don't do that. Stop doing this, or this is the way you do it. The disciplining, the talking, the modeling over and over and over again. And even sometimes when your kids are absorbing what you're saying and implementing what you're saying, they don't do it for you. They doing it for somebody else. It's so crazy that I used to pull up to my kids' school all the time, and people would say how great my kids were and how mannerable they were and how they're so obedient. And as soon as the car door shuts, they're fighting and bickering and slapping. And I used to be thinking, who kids are these people talking about? Because they can't be my kids, because these kids I got are heathens, So being a mom is such a challenge, and to me, sometimes it can feel like such a lonely thing. And then it doesn't make it any better if you don't have a good support system. Thankfully, I have a huge village. My husband's family lives very close to me. My mom is very supportive. She helps out. She's, whenever I need something, she does her best to, pick up my kids or come over. So I say I have such a great support system, but I can't imagine for those moms who live far away from, their support system, or their parents are no longer alive, their mom is no longer alive, or they just never did well with making friends. I have siblings. You have so many people who are only children who have no siblings, or they just have small families. So when you don't have a huge support system, it can feel like a really lonely place to be a wife and a mom. And so I think so many people have turned to liquor because it's been glamorized. That's the word I was looking for. All these advertisement agencies has glamorized drinking wine, drinking liquor. And I'm guilty of getting really, really tickled about, the memes that go out with these huge glasses of wine, or these cups that say this is mom juice. Yeah, I'm guilty of finding it funny because it's a ounce of truth to it. But the reality is if you have to drink to function, to be a mom, or you have to have a glass of wine, you got a problem. And so I want to talk about 4 signs that may indicate that you have a problem with drinking. If you're drinking alone or you're sneaking it, you could possibly have a problem. If you have to drink to feel normal or to function, possibly a problem. Or you're always making excuses for your drinking. Well, I've had a long day, or I don't normally have a lot to drink, or I usually only have 1 glass. It's a problem. And you have to depend on it, and you're drinking it every day. That's a problem. So what do you do if you feel like you're one of those people who may just have a little tiny problem with alcohol? First of all, you need to be honest with yourself. Like I said, I grew up in a house with a father who struggled with drug addiction and who struggled with alcoholism. And it makes me very conscious. I make a conscious decision, even if I think to myself, it would be nice to have a glass of wine, not to drink. Do I engage in social drinking? Yes, I drink at home even when it's just me if I want a glass of wine. But I don't allow myself to ever do that on a continuous basis. Like, I'll make a decision to go periods of time where I'm detoxing my body, I'm detoxing my mind and my spirit, and I don't allow alcohol in my body. Because at the end of the day, I never want to look up and find myself engaging in a behavior that robs me of the mental space and mental time and emotional time with my husband and my children and those who are important to me. And so I think that if you find yourself doing any of those things, making excuses, feeling like you have to drink to feel normal, or sneaking and drinking behind everybody's back, or drinking every day, you have a problem. And wine shouldn't be life. Liquor shouldn't be life in order for you to be able to get through parenting and to get through being at home. So, if any of you guys out there can relate, talk to me. I'm not asking you to bare your soul and put all your business out on the internet. That's not what I'm asking you to do. But I do want you to be honest, because so many of us are not being honest that we have a problem with drinking. And it's too many winos around here these days. And a lot of them are women. I have concerns even when I'm watching my family. Like, hey, maybe you shouldn't have another glass. I'm all about turning up. I turned up hard in college. I'm surprised my liquor survived college. But I also decided that when I got to a certain age that, hey, this does not have a good impact on my body. I can feel that this is not healthy for me. And I'm not needing to have fun that way. I can have fun all by myself. I don't need any extra help. So if you are struggling, or somebody else is struggling, let's talk to them. Let's discuss this. Support moms. If you have an at-home mom, especially a stay-at-home mom friend, support her. Okay, check in on her. I don't care if she says she's fine. I don't care if she looks fresh every time you see her. That may not be the truth. Sometimes it's the strong ones. Check on them. Offer. I have a friend, and this just shout out to my friend Talitra. When I tell you that she was the best thing that could have ever been sent to me when I was having my babies. Like, she would literally come pick up my oldest 2 kids and take them to church just so I could sleep. Like, she would leave me at home with a newborn. It wasn't an option. It was coming over, getting my kids dressed, and she had a toddler. Like, I could never repay her for that. I mean, she would just check on me all the time. She would take my kids, keep them over at the house. I didn't have to ask her. And I don't think she knew how much that meant to me when I was going through it, because my kids were all less than 2 years apart. And so because they were stair-steppers, they were all toddlers at the same time. They were all pulling on me. I was breastfeeding. I was hormonal. I was a new mom and a new wife. So I was still trying to adjust in a relationship. And so luckily I wasn't, relying on alcohol, but I couldn't imagine how I would have made it through if I was relying on alcohol. So I want to give a shout out to T. T, if you see this, know that you are my ace forever. I know we don't get to talk that much, but I love you, love you, love you, because when my kids were little, like, you was there for me. You helped me. So y'all check on y'all mom friends. If you don't have friends, and you don't have a support system, and you feel like you're engaging in alcohol to cope, or you feel like you're drowning, hey, tag me in these comments. Like I will hook you up with somebody. We'll form a support group if we have to. Okay. I just don't think that, anybody should be left to themselves to have to deal with being a mom, because it's a lot of stress, and mom guilt is real. It's something we've all experienced. So that is my little soapbox speech for Talk About It Tuesdays. I want to say hey to Shawana. I want to say hey to Kim. Shawana said that she's made an agreement with herself that when she's upset or going through something, that she will not have a drink until she's resolved the problem. So she knows that she can deal without it. That is a good practice. It's just like not going to bed angry. Or one of the things I try to do is I try not to be real angry when I'm trying to talk to my husband or when I'm trying to solve a problem or go through conflict, because I know I'm going to snap. It's just what's going to happen. And so I like that agreement that you made with yourself. Not using alcohol, not allowing yourself to engage in something until you know that you can do it without a crutch. I want to thank Kim. Hey, Kim. Hey, Alinda. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until next week, live your best life. Living through your stress life. Hello.